The first time Ariel Jackson got touched at Westbrook Academy, it wasn't a punch. It was a grip. A hand on fabric, right at the collarbone, like someone was testing whether she was human or just a thing they could move. And the worst part? It happened in front of an entire hallway, and nobody blinked. Not the students. Not the teachers. Not the security guard who looked up, saw it, and looked away again. Because at Westbrook, people didn't see certain things. They only saw who mattered. Ariel stepped off a city bus with a backpack that had been repaired so many times, the stitches looked like little scars. She kept her face calm, but her stomach wasn't. Her mom had warned her about this place, how clean it looked, how polite everyone sounded, and how sharp the quiet could be. The campus gates rose like the entrance to a private museum. Ironwork. Ivy. Brick buildings so perfect they didn't seem real. Students in tailored uniforms flowed in like they belonged to the ground itself. Ariel walked through them like a drop of ink in a glass of milk. She heard the whispers immediately. Not loud, not obvious, the kind meant to be deniable. She's new. Is she scholarship? Why would they bring someone like that here? Ariel kept walking anyway, the way her grandfather taught her, shoulders set, chin level, eyes forward. Grandpa used to say, strength isn't loud, it's steady. She repeated that in her head as she entered the main hall. Marble floors, trophy cases, banners with names of champions, lacrosse, debate, robotics, fencing. Westbrook collected winners like decorations. Ariel found her homeroom number on the printed schedule in her hand and slipped into room 203. The chatter didn't stop. It thinned. Like everyone lowered their voices so they could still talk, but also hear her breathe. The teacher, Mrs. Peterson, smiled too widely, like she was auditioning for kindness. "Class," she said, tapping the desk, "we have a new student joining us." Ariel walked to the front. 30 faces stared. Some are curious. Some are bored. A few openly amused. Mrs. Peterson placed a hand on Ariel's shoulder, firm, performative. "This is Ariel Jackson." Ariel forced a small smile. "Say hi," Mrs. Peterson prompted, as if Ariel was a child being shown off. "Hi," Ariel said simply. A boy in the back whispered something, and a couple of kids snickered. Mrs. Peterson pointed to an empty desk near the middle. Ariel moved toward it, but as she slid into the chair, she noticed something. The desktop had faint scratches carved into it. Not random. Letters. She leaned closer and felt her throat tighten. The words were shallow, like they'd been etched quickly. "Go back." Ariel sat up straight like she hadn't seen it. Like it didn't matter. But her fingers went cold. Because someone had carved that before they even knew her name. The bell rang. Students stood, moving in clusters. Ariel gathered her things, careful not to look lost. She had studied the map on her schedule, but the hallways were already swallowing her. A girl with glossy blonde hair brushed past her shoulder hard enough to turn Ariel sideways. "Oh, sorry," the girl said, and didn't look sorry at all. Ariel steadied herself and kept walking. Then she heard it. A voice, close behind, carrying confidence like it belonged to him. "You're in my way." Ariel turned. He was tall, athletic. Hair was perfectly messy in a way that clearly took effort. His uniform looked like it had never been wrinkled a day in its life. And the hallway shifted subtly around him, students glancing, adjusting, making space like gravity had changed. Kendall Anderson. Ariel didn't know his name yet, but she knew his type. The world rearranged itself for boys like him. "I'm sorry," Ariel said, stepping aside. Kendall didn't move right away. He just looked her over, slow, deliberate, like he was reading the price tag on something. Then he smiled. Not friendly. More like he'd just found a toy. "So you're the transfer," he said. "What are you, like a diversity point thing?" A couple of boys behind him laughed. Ariel felt her pulse rise, but she kept her face calm. Grandpa's voice again steady. "I'm a student," she said. Kendall tilted his head. "Goo." He leaned closer, lowering his voice like he was sharing a secret. "Here's how this works. You keep quiet, you keep your head down, you don't do anything weird. And Westbrook won't eat you alive." Ariel stared at him. Something inside her wanted to snap back, to say something sharp. But she had come here for her mother, for the chance, for the scholarship paperwork that took years and tears and late-night shifts. So she swallowed it. "I understand," she said. Kendall's grin widened, because he heard what she didn't say. He heard surrender. He stepped past her, shoulder checking her on the way, and the hallway laughed softly like a chorus that knew its cue. Ariel walked to her next class with her ears burning. By lunchtime, she realized something worse. No one sat near her. Not because there weren't seats, but because seats near her were suddenly unavailable. Kids put their bags there, spread out, claimed space, acted like they didn't see her hovering with a tray. Ariel finally slid into the far end of a table near the wall. Across the cafeteria, Kendall sat like a king, surrounded, loud, adored. He caught her looking, raised his drink in a mock toast, and smirked like the whole room belonged to him. That's when a paper ball hit Ariel's tray. Then another. The second one rolled open, revealing a scribbled note. "You don't belong." Ariel folded it slowly, her hands steady even as her chest tightened. She looked up, and Kendall was watching her. Not laughing, studying, like he wanted to see what she'd do. And Ariel realized the truth in a sudden, icy wave. This wasn't random. This was organized. This was a test. And she had no idea how far he planned to take it. If you were Ariel, new alone, surrounded by people waiting for you to break, what would you do next? Tell me in the comments. Ariel pushed her tray away, stood, and walked toward the exit. But as she passed Kendall's table, his foot slid out, smooth, casual. Ariel's knee hit it. Her tray pitched forward. Milk splashed. Food scattered. And the cafeteria went dead quiet for half a second before the laughter exploded. Ariel froze, staring down at the mess on the floor. Then Kendall's voice floated over it, sweet as poison. "Oops. Guess Westbrook's already too much for you." Ariel slowly lifted her eyes, and Kendall smiled like he'd just lit the fuse. Would she bend and clean it up to survive? Or would she do something that made everyone regret laughing? Ariel didn't move. Not right away. Because the moment you react in a place like Westbrook, they frame your reaction as a crime. She stared at the spilled milk seeping into the polished cafeteria tile, the smell of ketchup and bread mixing into something sour. Laughter bounced off the walls, sharp, rehearsed, hungry. And right in the middle of it stood Kendall, leaning back in his chair like he hadn't done anything at all. Ariel's face stayed calm, but inside her something was counting. Distance, angles, hands, exits, the habits of training you don't talk about. A girl nearby muttered, "Just pick it up," like Ariel was the one who'd thrown herself on the floor. Another voice whispered, "Don't make a scene." Don't make a scene. That phrase was a cage disguised as advice. Ariel crouched and began picking up the pieces. Not because she accepted humiliation, because she understood strategy. Grandpa had taught her that, too. Sometimes you let them think they've won, so they show you how they fight. As Ariel reached for her fork, she saw Kendall's shoe again, still extended, still claiming space. He wasn't even pretending it was an accident. He wanted her to notice, to feel it. And when Ariel's fingers brushed the napkin, Kendall leaned forward and said loudly, "Careful. Wouldn't want you to take a trip again." Laughter again. Ariel stood with the tray pieces in her hands and walked toward the trash. Her steps were even, controlled, but her cheeks burned anyway because pain doesn't need permission to exist. She dumped what she could and turned toward the cafeteria doors. And that's when she heard it. "Hey, Jackson." Kendall's voice, closer now. Ariel kept walking. Kendall followed. Not fast, not aggressive. Confidence. Like the hallway was his backyard. "Jackson," he repeated louder, and this time a couple students slowed down to watch. Ariel stopped at the door and faced him. "What?" she asked. Kendall smiled, as if she'd just volunteered for something. "See? That's the problem. You think you can just ignore people here." Ariel's eyes flicked around. A teacher at the far end of the cafeteria watched for a split second, then turned away and pretended to be busy with her phone. Convenient blindness. Kendall stepped closer, lowering his voice again. "You want to know what happens to people who don't fit in at Westbrook?" Ariel didn't answer. Kendall nodded like he expected that. "They disappear." He leaned in, close enough that Ariel could smell mint gum and arrogance. "You're going to get yourself hurt trying to play strong," he said. "You're not strong. You're just new." Ariel's stomach twisted, but her voice stayed steady. "Move." Kendall's eyebrows lifted, amused. "Or what?" Ariel held his gaze. In her mind, she saw her mother's tired hands after night shifts. She saw scholarship papers. She saw the small apartment where silence was sometimes the only peace they could afford. She also saw her grandfather sitting on the edge of the worn couch, wrapping Ariel's hands after training. Power isn't for proving. It's for protection. Ariel inhalit slowly, or I'll report you. Kendall laughed, full, loud, public. Report me? To whom? He spread his arms as if presenting the school itself. They love me here. Ariel's jaw tightened. Then Kendall reached out, fast, and plucked the strap of Ariel's backpack. Not yanking it yet, just holding it. Testing. Ariel's body stiffened. Her hand twitched at her side, instinct screaming move first. But she didn't. Kendall leaned closer and said, "You're not in your neighborhood anymore." That word, neighborhood, hit like a slap dressed up as a sentence. Ariel felt heat climb her neck, and Kendall saw it. His eyes brightened. He was feeding. Kendall's fingers slid up from the backpack strap to the collar of Ariel's uniform shirt. A small grip, not enough to tear fabric, just enough to claim control. Ariel's breath stopped. The hallway around them grew quiet in the way crowds do when they sense something ugly is about to become entertainment. And then the cameras appeared. One phone, then two, then 5. Students held them at chest level, pretending they weren't filming, while their eyes gleamed like they were. Ariel looked past Kendall, meeting the gaze of a boy recording openly. The boy didn't look away. He smiled. Kendall noticed and smirked wider. "Yeah," he said louder now, performing. "Let's see what happens when Westbrook's charity case gets a little pressure." Ariel's hands clenched. This was the line. Not because it was painful, because it was public, because he was turning her into a spectacle, and because if she stayed silent, he would learn something, that he could do it again. And next time, it wouldn't be a collar. It would be worse. Ariel's voice came out low. "Let go." Kendall tightened his grip a fraction. "Make me." For a split second, Ariel saw two futures. One where she swallowed it, walked away, and Westbrook learned she was safe to hunt. And one where she did exactly what her grandfather trained her to do, use her power not to show off, but to stop the harm before it spread. Her eyes shifted. Not wild, not angry, focused, like a switch flipped. Kendall noticed the change, and his smile faltered for the first time. "What?" he started. Ariel moved. Not with drama, with precision. Her hand snapped up, not to hit, but to trap his wrist against her collarbone, pinning his grip in place. Her body turned slightly, her shoulder sliding under his arm like it belonged there. Kendall's eyes widened, because suddenly he wasn't holding her. He was connected to her, and connections can be used. Ariel stepped in close, calm as water, and Kendall's posture broke just a little because his balance was gone. The phones rose higher. Someone whispered, "Yo, what is she doing?" Kendall tried to yank back, but the more he pulled, the tighter the trap became. Ariel leaned in and said softly, so only he could hear, "I asked you nicely." Kendall's face flushed. "Get off me." Ariel shifted her hips, and Kendall's feet moved without his permission. The crowd gasped, realizing too late this wasn't a shove. This was technique. This was training. This was the moment the quiet new girl stopped being a story they controlled. And just as Kendall stumbled forward, Ariel's eyes flicked to the cameras, then back to him, like she understood exactly what this would look like from the outside. She had one chance to do this clean. One chance to make the lesson unmistakable. Kendall's voice cracked with sudden panic. "Ariel, stop." Ariel inhalit. And then she finished the movement. If this kind of story hits you, subscribe so you don't miss what happens next, because the next few seconds change everything. Kendall's body turned, his center dropped, and the hallway's air sucked inward. And then, bam, his back hit the floor. Not slammed like a brawl, placed like a demonstration. The sound echoed off the lockers. The phones captured everything. And Ariel stood over him, breathing steady, while Kendall stared up in shock like the world had betrayed him. The hallway didn't laugh anymore. It didn't move. It just started, because the golden boy was on the ground, and the girl he tried to humiliate looked like she'd done it 1,000 times. A teacher's voice finally screamed, "What is going on?" Footsteps thundered toward them. Ariel's heart pounded once, Hard, because now came the part training didn't protect you from. The adults. The narratives. The punishment. Kendall blinked rapidly, gathering himself, and then his expression shifted, anger hardening into something calculated. He looked at the phones, then at the approaching staff, and Ariel saw it in his eyes. He was about to turn this around on her. He was about to make her the villain. And the worst part, Westbrook was ready to believe him. Ariel's hands hovered at her sides, still open, still controlled. The teacher reached them, face red. "Ariel Jackson, did you just attack Kendall Anderson?" Kendall groaned and clutched his shoulder, playing the role perfectly. Ariel opened her mouth to speak. And then Kendall whispered, just loud enough for her to hear, "They're going to end you." Was the video going to save Ariel or bury her? And when the school chooses a side, who do you think they'll protect? Final YouTube script 4, Bullies grab black girl's collar in school. Then she shows her black belt moves. The loudest sound in that hallway wasn't Kendall hitting the floor. It was the silence after. Ariel stood there, hands open, chest rising slow, like she was trying to prove to herself she still owned her breathing. Kendall lay on the polished tile, blinking up at the ceiling like the building itself had slapped him. And then the adults arrived. Too late to stop the bullying. Right on time to punish the reaction. "Back up." Coach Ryland barked as he pushed through the crowd. He was built like a wall and wore Westbrook colors like armor. Behind him, Mrs. Peterson appeared, face tight, lips pressed into that same forced smile, except now the smile was gone. Ariel's eyes flicked to the phones. They were still up, still recording, still hungry. Good, she thought. Let them record, because the truth couldn't survive in the dark here. Coach Ryland looked down at Kendall and immediately dropped into concern, real concern, like he'd found an injured mascot. "Kendall, you okay?" Kendall groaned, clutching his shoulder with dramatic precision. She attacked me." The word attack shot through the hallway like a starter pistol. Ariel opened her mouth, but Mrs. Peterson cut in, voice sharp. "Ariel Jackson, office. Now." Ariel didn't move, not because she was refusing, because she saw something shift in Kendall's eyes. A plan forming. He wasn't panicking anymore. He was building a story. Ariel looked at the nearest teacher, a woman she didn't know, and said calmly, "He grabbed my collar." He wouldn't let go. Coach Ryland's jaw flexed. Kendall wouldn't do that. Not did he. Not "Are you okay?" Just wouldn't. Like the accusation itself was disrespectful. Ariel felt heat rise behind her ribs, but she kept her voice even. "There are videos." That made Coach Ryland pause, just a fraction. Kendall's eyes darted, then he winced louder. "I was trying to tell her she dropped something." She freaked out. "Look at her, she's violent." A few students murmured agreement, not because they knew, but because it was easier to agree with power. Ariel's throat tightened. Violent. One word could erase months of restraint. Coach Ryland looked around. "Who has a video?" Phones lowered instantly. Not because the students didn't have footage. Because they suddenly understood that truth was only fun until it threatened the school's favorite. Ariel turned toward the boy she'd seen filming earlier, the one who smiled. His name tag read Mason. "Mason," Ariel said, voice low but clear. "You were recording." Mason's smile vanished. He glanced at Coach Ryland, then at Kendall, then away. "Nah, I didn't get anything." Ariel stared at him, stunned for half a second. So this was how it worked. They would record her pain for entertainment, but they would hide her proof to protect their king. Mrs. Peterson stepped closer, her tone dropping into that fake soft voice adults use when they've already decided you're guilty. "Ariel, let's not make this worse." Make it worse. As if Kendall's hand on her collar was just a misunderstanding. As if Ariel defending herself was the real disruption. Ariel's fingers curled into fists, then relaxed again. Control. Steady. But the crowd had already shifted. Students were whispering, heads close together, eyes darting at Ariel like she'd become something dangerous. Coach Ryland pointed toward the office hallway. "Move." Ariel did. She walked, not dragged, not broken. Every step is measured. But she could feel it, the way the narrative was being poured over her like wet cement, hardening before she could breathe. Behind her, Kendall sat up, rubbing his shoulder, looking like a wounded hero. And as Ariel passed the trophy case, she caught her own reflection in the glass. Dark skin, tight jaw, eyes too old for her age. She'd been here one day, and already they were trying to turn her into a problem. In the front office, Mrs. Granger, the assistant principal, sat behind a wide desk like it was a judge's bench. Her eyes flicked up, cold and tired. "What happened?" she asked, but her tone sounded like, "Why did you do this?" Coach Ryland spoke first. "Kendall was assaulted in the hallway. We need immediate consequences." Ariel's pulse thudded once, hard. Mrs. Granger turned to Ariel. "Is that true?" Ariel's voice stayed calm. "He grabbed my collar. I told him to let go. He didn't." Mrs. Granger's eyes narrowed. "And you responded by throwing him to the floor." Ariel met her gaze. "Yes, to get him off me." Mrs. Granger leaned back, tapping a pen. "You understand, that's unacceptable." Ariel's jaw tightened. "So he's grabbing someone." Coach Ryland scoffed. "Kendall wouldn't." A knock interrupted them. A secretary opened the door. "Mrs. Granger, there's a parent on the phone. Kendall's father." "Of course he is." Mrs. Granger's face changed instantly, polite, alert, careful. "Put him through." As she answered, Ariel watched the transformation. This wasn't about right or wrong. This was about money, influence, and who the school was built to serve. Mrs. Granger nodded along to the call, murmuring, "Yes, Mr. Anderson. I understand absolutely. We take this very seriously." Ariel felt the floor tilt under her, because every absolutely sounded like a nail in her coffin. When Mrs. Granger hung up, she looked at Ariel like she'd been handed instructions. "Effective immediately," she said. "You're suspended for 3 days pending investigation." Ariel's chest tightened. "But there's a video." Mrs. Granger's mouth tightened. "We haven't seen any video." Ariel's voice sharpened despite herself. "Because everyone is hiding it." Coach Ryland leaned forward, eyes hard. "Watch your tone." Ariel realized then, this wasn't a misunderstanding to be solved. It was a message. Know your place. She stood slowly. "Can I call my mom?" Mrs. Granger nodded, as if granting a privilege. Ariel stepped into the hallway outside the office, hands shaking for the first time, and dialed. When her mother answered, Ariel's voice cracked just slightly. "Mom, I need you." Her mother's tone changed instantly. "What happened?" "Ariel swallowed. They're saying I attacked a boy, but he grabbed me first." A pause. A long one. Then her mother's voice went low and steady. "Don't say another word to them without me. I'm leaving work." Ariel exhaled, eyes closing for a second. But as she opened them, she saw Kendall at the end of the hall, walking past the office with his friends, already cleared, already free, his arm in a sling that looked brand new. He glanced at Ariel and smiled, then mouthed 2 words. "Told you." Ariel's stomach dropped, because if this was day 1, what would the rest of the year look like? And if the adults were already against her, who could she possibly trust? Be honest, if you were Ariel, would you stay quiet to survive? Or would you fight this even if it cost you everything? Tell me in the comments. Ariel watched Kendall disappear around the corner. And then she heard the secretary whisper to Mrs. Granger, just loud enough to reach Ariel's ears. "There's a video going around. It's spreading fast." Mrs. Granger froze. Coach Ryland's face tightened. Ariel's heart thumped once, hope and dread at the same time. Because if the video surfaced, it could save her, or it could paint her as exactly what they wanted her to be. When a whole school sees those 3 seconds, will they finally see the truth, or will they twist it into something uglier? The video didn't leak. It exploded. By the time Ariel's mother pulled into the Westbrook parking lot, still in her white scrubs, hair pulled back, face tense with fear, the entire campus had already chosen a side. Not because they knew what happened, because they'd watched a clip. A cropped, shaky, 7-second clip. No beginning, no context, just Kendall's body hitting the floor and Ariel standing over him. It was everywhere, airdrop group chats, private Snapchat stories with laughing captions. And with every share, the truth got smaller. Ariel sat in the office chair across from Mrs. Granger, hands folded tight in her lap, as the principal, Dr. Hargrove, finally entered. He had silver hair, a crisp suit, and the kind of calm that came from knowing the building would always protect him. He didn't look at Ariel first. He looked at Ariel's mother, who had just been escorted in, and was now standing with her purse still on her shoulder, like she hadn't even had time to become a person. "Ms. Jackson," Dr. Hargrove said smoothly, "thank you for coming. I'm sure you understand how serious this is." Ariel's mother didn't sit. "I understand my daughter was grabbed and then blamed for defending herself." A flicker of surprise crossed Dr. Hargrove's face, like he hadn't expected her to speak in full sentences. Mrs. Granger slid her phone across the desk. "This is what we have." Ariel's mother watched the clip. Kendall hitting the floor. Ariel standing still. Gasps in the background. Then the video cut. Ariel's mother looked up slowly. "That's it." Dr. Hargrove folded his hands. "That's what's circulating." Ariel's mother's voice stayed controlled, but there was steel under it. "So you're punishing her based on an edited clip." Coach Rylan, sitting in the corner like a guard dog, crossed his arms. "It doesn't need editing." She put hands on Kendall. Ariel's mother stepped closer to the desk, and Kendall put hands on her first. Dr. Hargrove sighed gently, as if the truth was inconvenient paperwork. "We have no proof of that." Ariel finally spoke, voice quiet but firm. "There were people recording. Full videos exist." Mrs. Granger avoided her eyes. Dr. Hargrove nodded slowly. "Even if that's true, Ariel, you're a guest at Westbrook. We don't tolerate violence." Guest. Like she wasn't a student. Like her scholarship was a favor, not something she earned. Ariel felt her mother's hand touch her shoulder, warm, grounding. Then her mother said, "My daughter isn't violent. She's trained." Coach Ryland's eyebrows jumped. "Trained?" Ariel's mother looked at them all, one by one. Her grandfather raised her. He taught martial arts for 30 years. She has a black belt. The room shifted, not because they respected it, because it frightened them. Ariel saw it instantly. The way Dr. Hargrove's eyes narrowed, the way Coach Ryland leaned forward, not curious, threatened. Because trained meant Ariel didn't react like prey. And prey that can fight back makes people nervous. Dr. Hargrove's voice tightened. Then she should know better than anyone how dangerous physical force can be. Ariel's mother nodded. "Exactly. That's why she used control. She didn't punch him. She didn't keep going. She removed his grip." Coach Ryland scoffed. "A black belt in a school hallway is a weapon." Ariel's mother's eyes flashed. "A boy grabbing a girl by her collar is a weapon." Silence. Thick. Uncomfortable. And then Dr. Hargrove did what powerful people do when they're cornered by logic. He changed the subject. "We're also investigating Ariel's adjustment to Westbrook culture," he said carefully. "Sometimes students from different environments misread social cues." Ariel's mother stared at him. "Social cues?" He grabbed her. Dr. Hargrove spread his hands. "We're trying to keep the peace." Keep the peace. That old lie. The kind that demands the victim shrink so the bully can stay comfortable. Ariel felt a hot sting behind her eyes, but she refused to cry here. Not in front of them. Mrs. Granger's phone buzzed on the desk. She glanced down, and her face went pale. Dr. Hargrove noticed. "What is it?" Mrs. Granger swallowed. "The full video." Coach Ryland's posture stiffened. "Full video." Mrs. Granger nodded slowly. "Someone posted it. It's everywhere now." Ariel's heart slammed. Her mother's hand tightened on her shoulder. Dr. Hargrove held out his hand. "Show me." Mrs. Granger turned the phone toward him. The video began earlier this time. It showed Kendall stepping into Ariel's space. It showed him smirking. Then, clear as day, it showed his fingers gripping Ariel's collar. It showed Ariel saying, "Let go." It showed Kendall tightening his grip. And then Ariel's movement. Controlled. Clean. Fussed. Kendall hit the floor. Then Ariel stepped back. No dike. No extra strikes. Just a boundary. Dr. Hargrove watched without blinking. Coach Ryland's face darkened. When the video ended, the room stayed quiet, but the quiet was different now. Not dismissive. Strategic. Because the truth had arrived. And now they had to decide what to do with it. Dr. Hargrove cleared his throat. "Well, that certainly changes the context." Ariel's mother stared at him. "Does it change the suspension?" Dr. Hargrove hesitated. "Just a beat too long." And Ariel understood what that beat meant. Even with evidence, they were still deciding whether Kendall's reputation mattered more than Ariel's safety. Coach Rylan leaned in. "Kendall made a mistake," he said quickly, like he was smoothing a wrinkle. "But we can't have students taking matters into their own hands." Ariel's mother's voice rose slightly. "Then who was supposed to protect her? Because none of you did." Dr. Hargrove lifted a hand, calm again. "Ms. Jackson, please. We will handle this internally." Internally. Like burying it. Like turning it into both sides. Like forcing Ariel to apologize to keep Westbrook looking clean. Ariel looked at her mother, then back at Dr. Hargrove. "So what happens now?" Dr. Hargrove's eyes settled on Ariel with a new kind of focus. Not anger. Calculation. "Ariel," he said slowly, "we need to think about the message this sends. If you stay here, people will watch you. Every move you make." Ariel swallowed, because she could hear what he wasn't saying. "We can make this hard for you." Her mother stepped forward. "My daughter isn't leaving." Dr. Hargrove nodded politely. "Of course. But understand, Westbrook has standards. And Kendall's family is invested." Invested. Ariel felt her stomach drop again. Because even with the truth on video, Kendall might still win. Mrs. Granger's phone buzzed again. Another notification, another share, another comment thread turning Ariel into a headline. Dr. Hargrove stood. "We'll reconvene tomorrow. For now, Ariel will go home." Ariel rose with her mother, but as they turned toward the door, Coach Rylan spoke, voice low. "Tell your daughter to keep her hands to herself." Ariel paused. Her mother started to respond, but Ariel lifted her own hand gently, stopping her. Not out of fear, out of control. Out of strength, because true strength wasn't staying silent to keep the peace. It was knowing when to stand up and when to wait for the right moment to protect yourself and others. Ariel walked out of the office beside her mother. Outside, the late-day sun hit the campus like gold. And across the courtyard, Kendall stood with his friends, arms still in that sling, watching. He raised his chin slightly like, "This isn't over." Ariel's mother whispered, "We'll handle this." Ariel stared at Kendall, and Kendall smiled, small, confident, because he knew something Ariel didn't, or thought he did. That night, Ariel's phone buzzed with an unknown number. One message. No name. Just 4 words. "Meet me. I have proof." Ariel's breath caught. Proof of what? More videos? A deeper setup? Or a trap? If this kind of tension is your kind of story, subscribe, because what Ariel finds next changes who the real bully is. Ariel stared at the message, thumb hovering. Then she typed back, "Who is this?" 3 dots appeared, then vanished. Then a final message came through. "Someone they're protecting." Ariel's heart thudded once, hard enough to hurt. Because if Kendall wasn't the biggest problem at Westbrook, then who was? And what had Ariel just stepped into? Was this mystery person about to save her, or set her up for something even worse? Final YouTube script 4, Bullies grab black girl's collar in school. Then she shows her black belt moves. The message didn't scare Ariel because it was anonymous. It scared her because it sounded tired. Not dramatic. Not playful. Not like a student trying to start rumors. More like someone who'd been watching Westbrook's lies for a long time, waiting for the right crack in the wall. "Meet me. I have proof." Ariel lay in bed staring at the glow of her phone while the apartment around her stayed quiet. Her mom had fallen asleep at the kitchen table, still in scrubs, paperwork spread out like armor. The kind of sleep that wasn't rest, just exhaustion winning. Ariel could wake her. She should, probably. But another thought crept in, sharp and cold. If Westbrook was willing to punish her with video evidence on her side, what would they do if she brought her mother into every move? They'd label her difficult. They'd start whispering about attitude. And the scholarship could become a leash. Ariel typed again, "Who is this?" The 3 dots appeared, then vanished, then nothing. She stared at the screen until her eyes stung. Then a final message lit up. "Someone they're protecting." Ariel's pulse thudded. Someone they're protecting besides Kendall? She sat up slowly, like moving too fast would make the message disappear. Where would someone meet in a school like Westbrook without being seen? The answer came instantly. Places designed to look empty, but always watched, library corners, stairwells, behind the auditorium, where the cameras mysteriously didn't work. Ariel glanced at the time. 9:42 p.m. Too late to go tonight. But tomorrow she'd be back on campus, suspended or not, because Dr. Hargrove said go home, not stay home. Ariel set an alarm for early. Then she did something she hadn't done in years. She opened a dusty old duffel bag at the back of her closet. Inside were folded training clothes, hand wraps, a worn belt tied into a perfect knot, black. Ariel ran her fingers across it like it could speak. Grandpa's voice floated up again, soft but firm. If you carry power, you carry responsibility. Ariel didn't want to hurt anyone. She wanted to stop being hunted. The next morning, Westbrook looked the same from the outside, bright, manicured, spotless. But Ariel felt the difference the moment she walked through the gates. Eyes followed her. Not curious now. Wary. Students watched like she was an animal that had bitten back. Whispers floated behind her. That's her. Black belt girl. Did you see the video? She slammed Kendall. She's crazy. Ariel walked steady anyway, but every few steps, she felt the invisible push of social pressure, students widening their circles around her, like her presence might stain them. Then she saw Kendall. He stood near the main courtyard fountain with his friends, sling still on, laughing too loudly. As soon as he spotted Ariel, his expression changed, just a flicker. Not fear. Amusement. Like he'd been waiting for her to show up, so he could decide how to ruin her day. He raised his good hand and clapped slowly. 1, 2, 3. His friends snickered. Ariel kept walking, not giving him the satisfaction. But Kendall called out, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. Hey Jackie, show us another move. A couple students laughed. More phones appeared. Ariel felt her skin tighten. Micro cliffhanger, she thought bitterly. Every moment here was a setup. She turned slightly. My name is Ariel. Kendall smiled wider. Whatever. Just don't get mad and flip someone again. A teacher walked by at that moment, Mr. Dalka, a thin man with a stack of papers. He glanced at Kendall, glanced at Ariel, and then kept walking like he'd seen nothing. Ariel's stomach sank. They weren't going to stop him. They were going to watch him. She headed toward the library, heart beating in a careful rhythm. If the anonymous texter was real, the library made sense. Quiet. Cameras. People nearby but not listening. She pushed through the glass doors and inhaled the smell of old books and polished wood. The librarian looked up and frowned. Ariel Jackson, right? You're supposed to be suspended. Ariel kept her tone polite. I need to pick up a textbook for my classes. The librarian hesitated, then waved her through like she didn't want trouble. Ariel walked between shelves, scanning. A text buzzed. Back left corner. Study Carell. Ariel's throat tightened. She forced herself not to look around too fast. She turned down the aisle and saw Study Carell tucked near the history section. The seat faced the wall, hiding whoever sat there. Ariel approached slowly. Then a voice, quiet, shaken, spoke without turning around. Don't look at me yet. Ariel froze. It was a girl's voice. Young. Tense. Ariel whispered, why? Because if Kendall's people see you talking to me, I'm done. Ariel's mouth went dry. Who are you? A small pause. Then, I'm the person who filmed the whole thing. Ariel's heart jumped. You have the full video. I did. I sent it to the page that posted it. Ariel lowered her voice further. Why didn't you come forward yesterday? The chair creaked as the girl shifted. Because they made an example of the last person who tried. Ariel's stomach dropped again. What do you mean? The girl finally turned slightly, just enough for Ariel to catch a glimpse of her face. Not blonde, not rich-looking. A Latina girl with dark hair pulled back, eyes rimmed red like she hadn't slept. I'm Sophia, she whispered. And Kendall. Kendall doesn't just bully people for fun. He does it to control them. Ariel leaned in. Control them how? Sophia swallowed. He keeps lists. Ariel blinked. Lists of what? Sophia's hands trembled as she reached into her backpack and pulled out her phone. She didn't hand it to Ariel yet. She held it like it weighed 100 pounds. People he's ruined, Sophia whispered. People he can ruin. Ariel's pulse hammered. Why are you telling me? Ariel asked. Why me? Sophia's eyes met hers, pleading. Because you didn't fold. You're the first person who made him look weak. Ariel felt a chill crawl up her spine. Across the library, a group of boys entered, Kendall's friends. Sophia's face was drained of color. He's here. Ariel turned her head slightly, just enough to see them scanning the room. Not looking for books. Looking for her. Sophia whispered, voice cracking. If they catch me talking to you, they'll bury me. Do you understand? Ariel's mind raced. Protect yourself and others. Protect yourself and others. She took a slow breath. Then she sat down in the corral opposite Sophia, blocking the view of Sophia's face from the aisle. And Ariel whispered, show me the proof. Sophia's thumb hovered over her screen. Then she showed Ariel one image. Not the video. A screenshot. A list. Names. Dates. Incidents. Little notes like a predator keeping trophies. Ariel's name was already on it. Right at the bottom. With today's date. And one word beside it. Escalate. Ariel's chest went tight. She looked up. The boys were closer now, weaving between shelves. Sophia's breath came fast. He knows. He always knows. Ariel's mind snapped into focus. This wasn't about one hallway moment anymore. This was a system. And the system had a schedule. If you were Ariel, would you take that list straight to the principal, knowing you might bury it, or would you expose Kendall publicly and risk everything? Tell me in the comments. Ariel slid her phone out, pretending to check a message, and subtly snapped a photo of the list. Sophia whispered, don't. Too late. Ariel's camera shutter sound was off, but Sophia still flinched like she'd heard a gunshot. One of Kendall's friends appeared at the end of the aisle, eyes narrowing. Yo, he said quietly, smiling like a threat. Ariel Jackson, right? Ariel looked up, calm. He stepped closer. And behind him, Kendall's shadow moved across the shelf like the sun had gone out. Was Sophia about to get exposed as the whistleblower, and was Ariel about to learn what escalate really meant? Kendall didn't rush in screaming. He didn't need to. He moved through the library like he owned the air. Slow steps, relaxed shoulders, that lazy smile that said, I can ruin you without raising my voice. His friend, Brent, stood at the aisle entrance, blocking the exit like a bouncer. Ariel stayed saated. Sophia didn't. Sophia shrank into her chair like she wanted to dissolve into the wood. Kendall's gaze landed on Ariel first, then flicked briefly to Sophia's backpack, then back to Ariel. He saw everything. Library, Kendall murmured, almost amused. Guess you're trying the quiet girl routine again. Ariel kept her tone neutral. I'm getting a textbook. Kendall leaned closer, putting his hands on the edge of the desk. Funny, because it looks like you're collecting evidence. Ariel's heart thumped once, but her face didn't change. Micro cliffhanger. Had he heard the camera? Has someone tipped him off? Or was he just guessing? Kendall's eyes slid to Ariel's phone. Ariel didn't move it. Kendall smiled. You know what's wild? He said softly. Everybody thinks the video made you strong. He tapped the desk once, but it didn't. Ariel stared at him. Then what did it do? Kendall's smile thinned. It made you visible. Ariel felt the truth in that. At Westbrook, visibility wasn't safe. It was a target painted on your back. Brent chuckled. Bro, she thinks she's a superhero now. Kendall didn't laugh. He kept his eyes on Ariel. You want to play the hero? Here's the deal. He lowered his voice. You apologize. Publicly. You say you attacked me. You say you're sorry. And maybe I let you finish the year without accidents. Sophia sucked in a breath, small and sharp. Ariel didn't look at her. She couldn't. Not yet. Because if Kendall realized Sophia mattered, he'd crush her first. Ariel's voice came out steady. No. Kendall blinked once, like he didn't hear right. No. Ariel's posture stayed calm, controlled. You grabbed me. You threatened me. I won't apologize for defending myself. Kendall straightened slowly, like something inside him was turning cold. Then he glanced around, noticing a couple students watching from a distance, pretending to read. Kendall raised his voice slightly, performing again. See, this is what I mean. She's unstable. Ariel's pulse spiked. He was building a narrative right now, again. He leaned in. You think that list is power, he whispered just for her. That list is permission. Ariel's stomach dropped. Permission for what? Kendall's eyes gleamed. For everyone to do what they already want to do. They just need a reason. Ariel realized then, Kendall didn't only bully with his hands. He was bullied with social gravity. With whispers. With influence. He didn't need to punch you. He could make your whole world smaller until you couldn't breathe. Sophia's hand trembled near her phone. Ariel shifted slightly, blocking Sophia's movement with her elbow, a silent warning. Don't do anything. Kendall noticed Ariel's protective angle anyway. His eyes flicked to Sophia, just for a second. Then he smiled like he'd found the soft spot. Well, Kendall said louder, stepping back, I don't want to interrupt your little study date. Sophia flinched. Kendall turned, strolling away, with Brent, like this was over. But halfway down the aisle, he stopped and looked back. Oh, he said, as if remembering something. Try not to trip today, Ariel. Then he walked out. Ariel stayed frozen for 2 full seconds after he left, listening for footsteps, listening for laughter. When the library noise returned, pages turning, chairs scraping, it felt fake. Sophia whispered, barely audible, he knows it's me. Ariel finally looked at her. How? Sophia swallowed hard. Because he gave me that look. He only does that when he's about to ruin someone. Ariel's chest tightened. Sophia, listen to me. You did the right thing. Sophia's eyes filled. That doesn't matter here. Ariel understood. At Westbrook, right and wrong weren't currencies. Status was. Ariel thought fast. If Sophia had the list, then Kendall had made lists before. That meant patterns. Targets. Maybe even victims who'd transferred out. Scholarships revoked. Kids expelled for behavior. Ariel asked quietly, who else knows about this? Sophia shook her head. No one. If you tell, they'll say I'm lying. Or they'll say I'm obsessed. Or they'll say I'm jealous. Ariel felt anger flare, then forced it down into focus. True strength isn't about staying silent to keep the peace. It's about knowing when to stand up and doing it in a way that protects more than just your pride. Ariel leaned in. We need an adult who can't be bought by Kendall's family. Sophia gave a bitter laugh. At Westbrook. Good luck. Ariel's eyes narrowed. Not here. Sophia blinked. What do you mean? Ariel looked down at the photo she'd taken of a list. Then she remembered something from orientation paperwork, something most students ignored. Westbrook had a donor oversight board. A community advisory group. Alumni. Public-facing. Ariel whispered, people who care about reputation. Sophia stared. That's still adults. Ariel nodded. Yeah, but it's adults who panic when the truth goes public. Sophia hesitated. Kendall will retaliate. Ariel's jaw tightened. He's going to retaliate anyway. He already wrote escalate. Sophia's breathing quickened. So what do we do? Ariel stood slowly, scanning the library. No Kendall. No Brent. But Ariel felt it, like sharks underwater. Just because you couldn't see them didn't mean they weren't circling. Ariel said, we create our own evidence trail. And we don't walk alone. Sophia rose too, hand shaking. I can't. Ariel reached out and squeezed her hand once, quick and firm. You can. And you won't be alone. They walked out of the library together, trying to look normal. Halfway down the hall, Ariel's phone buzzed. A new message from an unknown number again. But this time it wasn't vague. It was a photo. Ariel's stomach dropped as she opened it. It showed her mother's car. In the Westbrook parking lot. With a caption. Nice ride. Be careful. Ariel's blood went cold. Because Kendall wasn't just targeting her at school anymore. He was reaching for her life outside it. Sophia saw Ariel's face change. What is it? Ariel's voice came out low. He's threatening my mom. Sophia's eyes widened, horrified. Ariel, you have to back off. Ariel stared at the screen, fingers tightening around the phone until it hurt. Back off. That's what bullies count on. That you'll protect your family by surrendering your dignity. But Grandpa's voice came again, clearer now than ever. If you don't stop a threat when it's small, it grows teeth. Ariel looked up, scanning the hallway. Students moved around them like normal. But Ariel didn't feel normal anymore. She felt like she was standing on the edge of something huge. And she had to decide whether to step back or step in. If you want to see how Ariel handles a bully who threatens her family, subscribe, because what she does next forces Westbrook to reveal its true face. Ariel typed one message back to the unknown number. Just 4 words. Touch her and... She stopped, deleted it, rewrote something better, something smarter, something that didn't give Kendall what he wanted. She sent, I saved everything. Then she slid the phone into her pocket, turned to Sophia, and said, we're going to the board meeting. Sophia whispered, there's a board meeting? Ariel nodded. Tonight. Sophia's eyes darted. And if Kendall's dad is there? Ariel swallowed, feeling her heartbeat in her throat. Because if Kendall's father was on that board, then Ariel wasn't walking into a meeting. She was walking into the lion's den. Was Ariel about to expose Kendall in front of the most powerful people in the school, or was she about to get crushed by the system protecting him? The board meeting wasn't held in an office. It was held in the one place Westbrook used when it wanted power to feel like tradition. The old auditorium. Dark wood, velvet curtains, framed photos of donors and distinguished alumni lining the lobby like saints. Ariel and Sophia stood outside the double doors, listening to the muffled hum of adult voices inside, confident, calm, untouchable. Ariel's palms were dry, not from fear, from control, because she knew what came next wasn't a fight you won with speed. It was a fight you won with proof. Sophia's voice trembled. We shouldn't be here. Ariel didn't take her eyes off the doors. We're already here. Micro cliffhanger. Were they about to expose Kendall or put a spotlight on themselves? Sophia clutched her backpack straps. What if they call Kendall's dad? Ariel swallowed. Then he'll hear it with witnesses. They stepped inside. The room was arranged like a courtroom pretending to be a community gathering. A long table on the stage. Nameplates. Water glasses. A projector screen behind them read, Westbrook Academy Community Oversight Board. Parents sat scattered in the front rows. Alumni in suits. A few staff members who looked like they were there to nod at the right moments. And on the stage, dead center, sat a man with silver hair and a watch that caught the light every time he moved. Ariel didn't need an introduction. The posture, the confidence, the way people angled their bodies toward him. Mr. Anderson, Kendall's father. Sophia's breath hitched beside Ariel like a stifled sob. Ariel felt her stomach drop, but her feet didn't move. True strength isn't staying silent to keep the peace. It's choosing the moment you speak and speaking anyway. A woman at the podium tapped the microphone. We'll begin with community concerns. If you have a question, please line up. Ariel's heart pounded once. Sophia whispered, Ariel, don't. Ariel leaned in. If we don't do it now, we'll be hiding forever. Sophia's eyes filled. I can't lose this scholarship. Ariel's jaw tightened. You're already losing it piece by piece. So am I. They stepped into the aisle. People turned, whispered. Ariel recognized a few students' parents from drop-off lines. Their eyes scanned Ariel like they were trying to decide if she was a threat or a nuisance. Then someone in the row ahead muttered, That's the girl from the video. Ariel felt the words crawl up her spine. She and Sophia reached the line, standing behind a parent complaining about cafeteria food. The normalness of it made Ariel's teeth ache, because her mother's car had been photographed, because Kendall had written escalate, because none of this was normal. The parents finished. Another person spoke. Minutes dragged, and the longer Ariel stood in that aisle, the more she felt eyes on her, not curious, evaluating. On stage, Mr. Anderson leaned to the principal, Dr. Hargrove, and said something in his ear. Dr. Hargrove nodded, smiling politely. Then Dr. Hargrove's gaze drifted down and landed on Ariel. Ariel's blood went cold. Micro cliffhanger. Did he know why she was here? Dr. Hargrove's smile didn't change, but something behind it sharpened, like he'd just spotted a problem walking toward the microphone. Ariel's turn came. She stepped to the podium. The microphone smelled faintly of metal and dust. Ariel looked out at the faces, wealth, influence, comfort. And then she saw her mother slip into the back row, still in scrubs, eyes fierce. She must have followed Ariel's location. Must have known Ariel would do something brave and reckless. That sight nearly cracked Ariel open, but it also anchored her. Ariel leaned toward the mic. My name is Ariel Jackson. I'm a scholarship student at Westbrook. A few murmurs. Ariel continued. Yesterday, a student grabbed my collar in the hallway. He refused to let go. When I defended myself, I was suspended. Ariel's voice stayed even, but the room tightened. There's a full video. It shows what happened clearly. She paused. The student who grabbed me is Kendall Anderson. A ripple swept through the audience like a disturbed pond. On stage, Mr. Anderson's posture shifted, small but unmistakable. He turned his head slowly toward Dr. Hargrove. Dr. Hargrove leaned in, whispering back. Then Mr. Anderson looked directly at Ariel for the first time, and smiled. Not warmth. Warning. Ariel felt it like a hand on her throat. She continued anyway. This isn't an isolated incident. Kendall keeps a list of students he targets. There are names, dates, and notes. Mine is on it. It says. A voice cut her off. Smooth. Controlled. Excuse me. Mr. Anderson stood. The entire room quieted instantly, like his money reached into their throats and squeezed. He walked to his own microphone at the end of the table, hands folded, expression calm. Young lady, he said, I'm sorry you had a difficult transition. Truly. Ariel's stomach churned. That tone. The kind adults use when they're about to erase you politely. Mr. Anderson continued. But you're making serious accusations in a public forum. Against my son. He gave a soft, disbelieving laugh. A list? Really? Some parents chuckled, relieved to join the powerful. Ariel's fingers curled against the podium. Mr. Anderson lifted a hand. Westbrook has policies. There are proper channels. If you have concerns, you should speak privately to the administration, not, he gestured vaguely, perform here. Perform. Like her pain was entertainment. Ariel's mother started to stand in the back row, but Ariel shook her head slightly, begging her to let Ariel finish. Ariel spoke into the mic, voice sharper now. I am using the proper channel. You're the oversight board. You oversee student safety. Mr. Anderson smiled wider. Student safety is exactly why we cannot have students with martial arts training attacking others. Ariel's breath caught. There it was. The flip. She was the danger now. Ariel said, I didn't attack him. I removed his grip. The video shows. Dr. Hargrove stood abruptly. Ariel, this isn't appropriate. Ariel stared at him. Then when is it appropriate? Dr. Hargrove's voice stayed polite, but his eyes were cold. We will handle this internally. Ariel felt Sophia shift behind her, trembling. Then Sophia whispered, almost soundless, they're doing it again. They were burying it. In real time. Ariel made a decision in a single heartbeat. She reached into her pocket and raised her phone. I have a photo of the list. Gasps. Cameras rose from the audience, adults this time, recording with the same hunger students had. Mr. Anderson's smile faltered for the first time, just a crack. Ariel said, if you want it privately, I can send it privately. But I'm not going to pretend it doesn't exist. Mr. Anderson's voice hardened. Put that away. Ariel didn't. And that's when the security guard at the side door began walking toward the aisle. Fussed. Purposeful. Ariel's heart slammed. Micro cliffhanger. Were they about to physically remove her? Her mother moved now, stepping into the aisle, blocking the guard's path like she'd done it her entire life. The guard hesitated. Ariel spoke quickly into the mic. I'm asking a simple question. If a student grabs another student's collar and threatens them, what is Westbrook's policy? Silence. No one answered, because the answer would make them accountable. And accountability was the one thing Westbrook hated more than bad press. Ariel's voice dropped lower, shaking with controlled emotion. Are you protecting students or protecting donors? The room exploded into murmurs. Mr. Anderson's face darkened. Dr. Hargrove snapped, this meeting is adjourned. Chairs scraped. People stood. Confusion, anger, fascination. And in that chaos, Ariel felt a hand grab her elbow, not Kendall, not a student. An adult. A staff member. Pulling her toward the side exit. Ariel whipped her head around and saw Coach Ryland's face inches from hers, eyes hard. Come with me, he said. Not a request. A command. Ariel's stomach dropped, because if Coach Ryland had her away from witnesses, anything could happen. What would you do if you were Ariel? Go with him quietly to avoid escalation, or refuse and risk a scene that could cost your scholarship? Tell me in the comments. Coach Ryland tightened his grip. Sophia froze. Ariel's mother started forward, and Coach Ryland leaned close to Ariel's ear and whispered, "You have no idea who you are, just embarrassed." Ariel's blood went ice, because Kendall wasn't the only one with power here. And Coach Ryland sounded like he was warning her or threatening her. Was Coach Ryland about to help Ariel, or was he about to make her disappear the way Sophia said others had? Coach Ryland didn't take Ariel to the principal's office. He took her downstairs, below the auditorium, into the service corridors where the walls weren't decorated with trophies, just concrete, pipes, and buzzing fluorescent lights. A place the school didn't show on tours. A place where stories could be controlled. Ariel's heart hammered, but her steps stayed measured. She kept her wrist loose, shoulder relaxed, training posture, not panic posture. Sophia trailed behind, pale and shaking. Ariel's mother followed too fast, refusing to be left out of the narrative. Coach Ryland finally stopped outside a door marked faculty storage. He looked over his shoulder. Only Ariel. Ariel's mother stepped up. Absolutely not. Coach Ryland's jaw flexed. "Ms. Jackson, with respect, this is school business." Ariel's mother's voice went low. "My daughter is in school now." Ariel felt the air tighten like a wire pulled taut. Micro cliffhanger. Was Coach Ryland about to push back harder? Instead, he sighed, like he'd been waiting for this resistance. "Fine. You too. But the student stays out." Sophia's eyes widened. "No." Ariel turned to Sophia, voice calm. "Stay here. Record audio if you can." Sophia nodded shakily, slipping her phone into her pocket like a secret weapon. Ariel and her mother entered. The door shut. Coach Ryland didn't sit. He paced once, then turned, expression unreadable. "You think you did something up there," he said. Ariel held his gaze. "I told the truth." Coach Ryland scoffed. "Truth doesn't matter in rooms like that. Leverage does." Ariel's mother stepped forward. "Then maybe you should explain why my daughter got suspended when your golden boy put hands on her." Coach Ryland's eyes flicked to her scrubs, just a glance, but Ariel caught it. A judgment. A classification. Then Coach Ryland said something that made Ariel's stomach drop. "Kendall isn't the only Anderson invested in this school." Ariel's mother's face tightened. "What does that mean?" Coach Ryland lowered his voice. "It means you poke a hornet's nest, and now you're surprised it's angry." Ariel's pulse spiked, but she stayed steady. "So you brought me down here to threaten me?" Coach Ryland paused. Then, unexpectedly, he reached into his pocket and pulled out his own phone. He opened something, then slid it across a dusty table toward Ariel. Ariel looked down. It was an email thread. Subject line: "Disciplinary review, Jackson, Ariel." Ariel's throat tightened. Coach Ryland pointed. "Read." Ariel scanned quickly. It wasn't just a suspension. It was language like aggressive conduct, risk to the student body, inappropriate use of force, recommendation for scholarship review. Her scholarship. Her future. Ariel's mother snatched the phone, eyes moving fast. "This is insane." Coach Ryland's face hardened. "Insane is thinking you can publicly accuse the Anderson family and walk away clean." Ariel stared at him. "So you're with them?" Coach Ryland's jaw clenched. "I'm with this school." He leaned in. "And this school doesn't survive in truth. It survives on money." Ariel's breath caught. Then Coach Ryland did something Ariel didn't expect. He tapped the screen again, scrolling. Another email appeared. From Coach Ryland. To Dr. Hargrove. Timestamped 2 hours earlier. It read, "We cannot punish Jackson. Full video shows Anderson initiated physical contact. Any action against Jackson will be legally risky and publicly damaging. Ariel Blinked, you sent this." Coach Ryland didn't smile. "I'm not stupid." Ariel's mother looked up sharply. "Then why are you talking like you want to crush her?" Coach Ryland exhaled slowly. "Because I'm trying to keep her alive in this place." Silence. Heavy. Ariel felt her spine tighten. Alive. Coach Ryland's eyes flicked to the door. "You know how many kids transfer out here mid-year? How many disciplinary incidents end scholarships? How many parents get quiet settlement calls?" Ariel's stomach sank. Sophia wasn't exaggerating. Coach Ryland leaned closer, voice low. "Kendall's father doesn't lose. He just relocates problems." Ariel's mother's voice trembled with anger. Are you saying he's done this before? Coach Ryland didn't answer directly. He only said, that list Sophia showed you? It's not a teenager's game. It's a family habit. Ariel's pulse hammered. Micro cliffhanger. If Kendall learned it from his father, then the enemy wasn't a boy. It was a machine. Ariel forced her voice to stay calm. If you know all this, why don't you stop him? Coach Ryland's eyes flashed. You think I haven't tried? He turned away briefly, then faced them again with something like exhaustion. I'm going to give you one chance. 1. Stop making noise inside the building. Ariel's mother snapped. No. Coach Ryland raised his hand. Listen. He pointed to the email thread. I can delay this disciplinary review. But if you push publicly again, the board will label Ariel a liability. They'll say safety. They'll say standards. And the scholarship will vanish. Ariel felt her throat tighten. Her mother's hand found Ariel's shoulder again, steady warm. Ariel asked, so what do we do? Coach Ryland looked at Ariel for a long moment, then spoke carefully. You want to beat people like that, he said. You don't punch up. You document it down. He tapped his phone. You build a timeline. You gather testimonies. You find patterns. And when you go public, you do it with something they can't buy off. Ariel swallowed. Like what? Coach Ryland's answer was simple. A lawsuit, or the press. Ariel's mother inhaled sharply. Coach Ryland continued, but you don't do it alone. And you don't do it recklessly. Ariel looked at her mother. Her mother's eyes were fierce, but scared too, because Kendall had already photographed her car. Ariel whispered, he threatened you. Coach Ryland's face tightened. I know. I saw the photo circulating. Ariel's blood went cold again. Circulating. Coach Ryland nodded. He's giving you a lesson. Ariel's mother stepped forward. Then we go to the police. Coach Ryland shook his head. Anderson will call it a misunderstanding. He'll say Kendall is being harassed. He'll bury you in paperwork. Ariel's stomach churned. So we do nothing. Coach Ryland's voice sharpened. No, you do everything. Quietly. Correctly. He looked straight at Ariel. You have discipline. You have control. Use it. True strength wasn't a throw. It was a plan. Coach Ryland reached into a drawer and pulled out a small key card. He slid it across the table. Ariel stared at it. What is that? Coach Ryland said, access to the security office. Cameras. Archive. Places students aren't supposed to see. Ariel's heart slammed once. Micro cliffhanger. Was he really helping or setting a trap? Coach Ryland's eyes stayed hard. Don't make me regret this. Ariel's mother's voice went low. Why are you doing this? Coach Ryland hesitated. Then he said almost quietly, because I watched them break a kid last year. And I told myself I'd never watch it again. Ariel's breath caught. The door handle rattled. Someone outside. Coach Ryland's head snapped up. He moved fast, too fast for a man his size, and shoved his phone back into his pocket. Then he whispered, if anyone asks, this conversation never happened. Ariel's pulse spiked. Coach Ryland opened the door a crack. Dr. Hargrove's voice came through, smooth as ever. Coach? Are you in there? Coach Ryland blocked the doorway with his body. Yes. Dodo Hargrove stone shifted. Bring Ariel Jackson to my office. Now. Coach Ryland glanced back at Ariel, eyes warning. Ariel's mother grabbed Ariel's hand. Ariel slipped the keycard into her pocket, feeling its edge like a secret blade. Because now she knew something terrifying. They weren't just trying to silence her. They were trying to isolate her. And isolation is where bullies do their best work. If you want to see what Ariel finds when she uses that key card, subscribe, because the next discovery changes the whole story, and it proves Kendall isn't the only bully. Coach Ryland stepped aside reluctantly. Ariel and her mother walked out. Sophia was waiting, eyes wide, phone clenched. Ariel whispered, we have access. Sophia whispered back, to what? Ariel didn't answer yet, because down the hall, Kendall stood by the trophy case, sling on, smiling like he'd been listening the whole time. And in his hand was his phone, held up, recording. Did Kendall just capture Ariel's secret lifeline, and is he about to use it to destroy her before she can expose him? Final YouTube script 4, Bullies grab black girl's collar in school. Then she shows her black belt moves. Kendall's smile didn't say, I'm winning. It said, I already won, and you just don't know it yet. He stood there by the trophy case, sling on, phone raised like a mirror aimed at Ariel's future. The screen reflected her face for a split second as she passed, calm on the outside, storm underneath. Ariel didn't flinch, because flinching was what he wanted. She kept walking beside her mother, with Sophia trailing a step behind, clutching her own phone like it was the only life raft left in a sea of Westbrook money. But Ariel felt it, something shifting in the air. A subtle tightening. Like the school itself had noticed she'd been given a key card it never meant for her to touch. Dr. Hargrove's office was quiet the way expensive rooms are quiet. Soft carpet, heavy furniture, no clutter. Silence that makes you feel like your voice will be punished just for being too loud. Dr. Hargrove sat behind his desk, hands folded. Coach Ryland stood near the door, arms crossed, expression blank. Ariel's mother stood tall in her scrubs, refusing to sit. Dr. Hargrove didn't address Ariel first. He addressed her mother. Ms. Jackson, he began smoothly, we respect your dedication to your daughter. But Ariel's presence at last night's board meeting was inappropriate. Ariel's mother didn't blink. What was inappropriate was adults trying to silence a child speaking about being assaulted. Dr. Hargrove's smile tightened. We use the term altercation. Ariel's jaw clenched. Altercation, a word that makes the aggressor and the victim sound like equal participants. Dr. Hargrove continued, Westbrook is a community. We cannot allow public disruption. Ariel cut in, voice steady. Then answer my question. What is Westbrook's policy when a student grabs another student's collar? Silence. Micro cliffhanger. Would he answer now with no crowd to perform for? Dr. Hargrove leaned back slowly. Ariel, you're very intelligent. But intelligence doesn't excuse impulsive behavior. Ariel's eyes narrowed. Defending myself isn't impulsive. Coach Ryland shifted subtly, like he was listening for the wrong answer. Dr. Hargrove picked up a folder and slid it across the desk. Ariel Jackson, disciplinary review. Ariel's mother stepped forward, reading fast. Her face tightened. Then she laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. You're recommending a scholarship review for a girl who was grabbed. Doru Hargrove's stayed calm. For a girl who publicly accused a student and a family. Ariel felt her blood go cold. So this wasn't about the hallway anymore. It was about humiliation. Ariel had embarrassed them. And now they were trying to make her pay with the one thing she couldn't afford to lose. Dr. Hargrove looked at Ariel like he was offering mercy. We can make this simple. Ariel's mother snapped, here it comes. Dr. Hargrove nodded slightly. Ariel apologizes. In writing, she acknowledges her response was excessive. We close this file. Kendall's family gets assurance. And Ariel continues at Westbrook. Ariel's chest tightened. A forced apology. A controlled narrative. A muzzle dressed up as a compromise. Ariel looked at her mother. Her mother's eyes were fierce, ready to fight, yet scared too, because threats had already touched her car. Then Ariel thought of Sophia, of the list, of the kid last year Coach Ryland mentioned, of how easy it would be for Westbrook to grind her down if she signed. Ariel met Dr. Hargrove's gaze. No. Dr. Hargrove's smile vanished. Excuse me. Ariel's voice stayed calm. I'm not apologizing for being grabbed. Dr. Hargrove's eyes hardened. Then we proceed. He tapped the folder. Your scholarship will be reviewed by the committee. Ariel's mother's voice rose. This is retaliation. Dr. Hargrove didn't deny it. He just said, this is policy. Micro cliffhanger. Policy was just the word they used when they wanted cruelty to sound official. Ariel inhaled slowly, then said something she didn't plan to say in this room. I have evidence. Coach Ryland's posture tightened. Dr. Hargrove's eyes narrowed. What evidence? Ariel didn't pull out the key card. Not here. Not in front of him. Instead, she said, there's a list. A record of students' Kendall targets. Dates. Notes. Escalate. My name is on it. Dr. Hargrove's expression flickered, just once. Not surprising. Recognition. Like he'd heard of that list before. Ariel felt her stomach drop. So the adults weren't blind. They were complicit. Dr. Hargrove's voice became colder. Ariel, you need to be careful. Accusing someone like Kendall Anderson is serious. Ariel's mother stepped closer to the desk. So he's threatening my daughter. Dr. Hargrove stood, palms flat on the desk, leaning forward. Then, I suggest you both think carefully about what you want. Westbrook can open doors. Ariel stared at him. And Westbrook can close them, he finished quietly. That was the real sentence. The threat underneath professionalism. Coach Ryland spoke for the first time, voice low. Hargrove, enough. Dr. Hargrove glanced at him, irritation flashing. Coach, stay out of this. Coach Ryland didn't move, but his jaw flexed, like he was holding back a fight of his own. Ariel's mother grabbed the folder, shaking slightly. We're leaving. Dr. Hargrove nodded. Of course. You have until Monday to submit Ariel's written apology. Otherwise, the committee meets without you. Ariel turned to leave, and as she did, her phone buzzed. A new message. From an unknown number. Ariel opened it. It was a video clip. Her stomach flipped when she saw the frame. It was Kendall's recording in the hallway. The angle caught Ariel and Coach Ryland entering the storage room. Then the door closed. Then nothing. But the caption below, it made Ariel's skin go ice. Coach Ryland meets with a violent scholarship girl in secret. Cover up. Ariel's breath caught. They were framing it already. Kendall wasn't just retaliating. He was preloading the narrative, so whatever Ariel uncovered with that keycard would look like a conspiracy. Sophia whispered behind her, voice shaking. He posted it. Ariel's mother's eyes widened. What is that? Ariel didn't answer, because at that exact moment down the hall, Kendall's friends started laughing louder, like they were celebrating a kill. And Ariel realized the trap. If she used the keycard now, Kendall would say Coach helped her fake evidence. If she didn't use it, Westbrook would bury her scholarship. Ariel's mind raced. Then she looked at Sophia and whispered, Do you still have the list? Sophia nodded. Ariel whispered back, Good. Then we don't just expose Kendall. She swallowed. We expose the whole system. If you were Ariel, what would you do right now? Sign the apology to protect your future, or risk everything to take down the people protecting Kendall? Tell me in the comments. Ariel looked back once at Dr. Hargrove's closed office door. Then she turned and walked fast toward the security wing. Because if Kendall was already spinning lies, then Ariel needed something stronger than a story. She needed footage they couldn't edit. And she needed it before Monday. Was Ariel about to find the proof that saves her, or the proof that puts a target on her back forever? The security office was supposed to be locked. It wasn't. Not completely. Not when you have a key card that was never meant to exist in your pocket. Ariel's fingers closed around the card as she stood at the end of a quiet hallway where the walls changed from polished portraits to plain cinder block. The air smelled different here, cleaner, colder, like metal and electricity. Sophia hovered behind her, breathing fast. Ariel's mother stood close, phone already open, recording, because after everything, she trusted cameras more than administrators. Ariel swiped the keycard. The light blinked. Green. The door clicked. Ariel pushed it open. Inside, monitors glowed in the dim light, multiple camera feeds from across the school. Hallways. Entrances. The cafeteria. The courtyard. Even the auditorium lobby. Ariel's stomach tightened. Westbrook saw everything. So when they said they didn't know, it wasn't ignorance. It was a choice. Micro cliffhanger. If the cameras saw Kendall grab her collar, why did they pretend there was no proof? Ariel approached the console. There was a login screen. Sophia whispered, We don't have a password. Ariel's mother said quietly, Coach Ryland didn't give you one? Ariel shook her head. Then she noticed something. A sticky note. On the edge of the monitor. A simple 4-digit code. Like someone wanted her to find it. Ariel's heart thumped. Trap. Or help. She typed it in. The system opened. Sophia exhaled shakily. Ariel clicked through timestamps, navigating to the day of the hallway incident. Her hands were steady, but her pulse wasn't. She pulled up the corridor camera. There it was. Kendall stepped in front of her. His hand rising, fingers clamping onto her collar. Ariel's breath caught. Seeing it from above made it even uglier, even clearer. Then Ariel's controlled movement. Kendall hitting the floor. And, most importantly, the crowd of students filming. Proof. Unedited. Time stamped. Ariel's mother whispered, voice breaking, they had this the whole time. Ariel nodded slowly. Joutig. Yeah. Then Sophia said, barely audible, scroll forward. Ariel did. And what she saw next made her blood run cold. Because Kendall didn't walk away after the throw, like the version on social media implied. He got up. He looked around. And he did something small and deadly. He walked to student, Mason, and leaned in close. The camera had no audio, but didn't need it. Kendall pointed at Mason's phone, then pointed at Ariel, then made a slicing motion across his throat. Mason nodded. Ariel's stomach twisted. That was intimidation. On camera. Then Kendall turned and walked straight toward a staff-only corridor. Toward the security wing. Toward this very area. Ariel froze. Sophia whispered, he came here? Ariel's fingers moved fast now, clicking into the security wing feed. The angle showed Kendall approaching the door, but not entering. Instead, he stood there, waiting. A minute passed. 2. Then, Coach Rylan appeared. Coach Rylan spoke to Kendall. Kendall's posture changed, cocky, familiar. Like this wasn't the first time they'd met privately. Ariel's mouth went dry. Her mother's voice came out strained. Why is he talking to him? Ariel didn't answer, because the next seconds hit like a punch to the spine. Coach Rylan opened the security door. Kendall stepped inside. The camera angle didn't show what happened inside the room, but it showed Kendall leaving 5 minutes later, smiling. And Coach Rylan standing in the doorway, face unreadable. Ariel's entire body went cold. Micro cliffhanger was Coach Rylan helping Ariel, while also cutting deals with Kendall. Sophia's voice trembled. I told you. They protect him. Ariel's mother's breathing quickened. This looks bad. Ariel stared at the screen, mind racing. If she released this footage, it could destroy Coach Rylan, her only internal ally. But if Coach Rylan was compromised, then he was never an ally. He was a gatekeeper. Ariel scrubbed forward again, scanning other days. Her hands moved almost automatically, searching for patterns the way a fighter reads a stance. Then she found a folder. Not labeled hallway. Not labeled incidents. It was labeled transfers. Ariel clicked it. A list of dates opened. Video snippets tied to student names. And Ariel recognized one from Sophia's screenshot list. A boy named Darius L. Ariel clicked it. The footage showed Darius in the courtyard months ago, being surrounded by Kendall's friends. Then a teacher intervened, not to stop the harassment, but to pull Darius away. Then the clip ended with Darius being escorted into the administration building. A title card popped up in the system log. Behavioral removal, scholarship revoked. Ariel's stomach dropped. Her mother covered her mouth. Sophia whispered, oh my God. Ariel clicked another. A girl, crying in the hallway. Kendall standing nearby, smirking. Then Dr. Hargrove speaks to the girl, gesturing toward the exit. System log. Voluntary withdrawal. Parent contacted. Ariel's skin prickled. This wasn't one bully. This was infrastructure. Kendall was the weapon. Administration was the sheath. Donors were the reason. Ariel felt rage rise like fire. Then she compressed it down into something sharper. Purpose. She turned to Sophia. Do you still have that list photo? Sophia nodded, eyes wet. Yes. Ariel turned to her mother. Do you have your recording running? Her mother lifted the phone, hands shaking. The whole time. Ariel looked back at the screen. Then she did the bravest thing she'd done yet. She pulled out her own phone and hit record, filming the monitor. Time stamps, folder names, logs, evidence of a system. Ariel whispered, more to herself than anyone, they can't call this a misunderstanding. Behind them, the hallway outside the security office creaked. A footstep, then another. Ariel froze. Sophia's eyes widened. Ariel's mother whispered, someone's coming. Ariel kept recording, heart pounding. The door handle jiggled. Locked. Then a voice, low and amused, came through the door. Kendall. I know you're in there, he said softly. I told you, you don't know who you are. Embarrassed. Ariel's blood went ice. Sophia's breath came fast. Ariel's mother stepped closer to Ariel, protective. Kendall's voice continued, gentle like poison. Open the door, or I will open it for you. Ariel stared at the monitors, then at the keycard reader, then at the only other exit, an emergency stairwell door in the back. Micro cliffhanger, escape now or hold position and risk confrontation. Ariel made a decision. She looked at Sophia. Send the list and the footage to yourself. Then to my mom. Then to 2 people you trust. Sophia's fingers shook as she complied. Ariel's mother whispered, Ariel, we need to go. Ariel nodded, still recording. One more thing. She clicked back to the hallway incident file and zoomed in on Kendall's hand gripping her collar. Then she zoomed in on the timestamp. Then she panned to the system log that showed the footage had been accessed by an admin account before Ariel was suspended. Her mother's voice broke. They lied. Ariel whispered, now we prove it. Kendall's voice rose on the other side of the door. Last chance. Ariel stopped recording and sent the video to her mother's phone instantly. Then she looked at the emergency stairwell. Ariel's mother grabbed her hand. Sophia clutched her backpack. They moved. Quiet. Fussed. Controlled. Ariel pushed the stairwell door open, and alarms did not blare. Another small detail that told Ariel everything. This building had rules for show, not for safety. They ran down the stairs, feet light. Behind them, the security office door finally clicked, unlocked from the outside. Kendall shouted, get back here. Ariel didn't look back, because her power wasn't in her fists. It was in what she carried now. Evidence. And the next morning, Ariel's mother didn't go to Dr. Hargrove. She went to a lawyer and a reporter. Westbrook woke up to headlines. Parents flooding the office. Donors calling each other in panic. And Kendall Anderson, Westbrook's golden boy, watching his kingdom crack on a screen he couldn't control. Ariel returned to campus not with lowered eyes, but with a calm face and a straight spine. Not because she wanted revenge, because she wanted safety for herself and for every kid whose name had been on that list. True strength isn't about staying silent to keep the peace. It's about standing up with proof and using your power to protect others. If this kind of story sticks with you, subscribe, because there are more moments like this where one brave choice changes everything. As Ariel walked through the gates, students watched differently now. Some with respect, some with guilt, some with fear. And Kendall? He stood near the fountain, sling gone, smile gone, eyes hard. Ariel met his stare and kept walking, because the final win wasn't flipping him. It was making sure he couldn't flip the story ever again. With the whole world watching now, would Kendall finally face consequences, or would he find a new way to strike back when nobody expects it?